Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Um, Hope everyone's doing well. I have some things that I want to talk about. I have a lot of things I want to talk about, actually. And so today I'm going to be talking about something that affects the people of Ohio, as I am somewhat of a resident, if you want to say that. I've been here just under a year so far. Coming up on that year very, very soon. So technically, I might as well consider myself as a resident. My girlfriend's also a graduate student at OSU. So, um, the issue I'm going to be talking about today, it kind of hits close, and it's about the recently passed Ohio Senate Bill 1 regarding higher education. And I want to preface this with the fact that I do not want to hide the fact that I am a leftist. Um, I'm soy, whatever, however you want to say it, woke, gay, all that. It doesn't matter. I want to inform the most amount of people that I can. So both people, both liberals, leftists, conservatives, you know, Republican voters, wherever you find yourself on the spectrum. I just want to inform you, because whichever way you swing politically, things that are laws that are passed ultimately affect us. And right now, what we're finding is that things that are being passed are passed to hurt us overall, and I think everyone should be informed. So today I'm going to be talking about Ohio Senate Bill 1, again regarding higher education. And basically, what I'm just going to do is I do not want to lecture, so it's just going to be kind of like, here's the point, here it's bad, and this is why, and just take everything into account. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here we are. I have highlights. Some are really bad. Please do not pay attention to the bad highlights. I was highlighting things terribly. So we're going to start with section 3345.029. Um, so we're going to go ahead and read, as used in this section, community college, the same meaning as in section 33.168 of the revised codes. Course syllabus means a document produced for students by a course instructor that includes all of the following: the name of the course instructor, a calendar for the course outlining what materials and topics will be covered, and when during the course they will be covered. A list of any required or recommended readings for the course instructor's professional qualifications. General syllabus means a document produced for students by a community college regarding a course that includes both of the following: a calendar for the course outlining what materials. I'm sorry, this is basically saying the same thing. Um, Covered and when during the course they will be covered. A list of any required or recommended readings for the course. Then it goes to say state institutions of higher education has the same meaning as in section 3345.0.011 of the revised codes. All right, so here's where we really get into heart of the matter. Beginning in the 2026-2027 academic year, each state institution of higher education shall make a syllabus for each undergraduate course it offers for college credit publicly available by doing one of the following: ensuring that each course instructor's posts a course syllabus on a publicly accessible website. Each such website shall include the following information: the course instructor's professional qualifications, the course instructor's contact information, the course instructor's course schedule, the course syllabus for each course the instructor is currently teaching, which shall be accessible by link or download through the website. Posting a course syllabus for each course on the institution's publicly available accessible website. Each course syllabus shall be all of the following: accessible from the main page of the state institution's website by use of not more than 3 links, searchable by keywords and phrases, accessible to the public without requiring user registration of any kind. If the institution is a community college, it goes in the same direction with community colleges. So the point being on this one is that Um, each instructor is posting their course syllabus online for anyone to see. This is bad. Why is it bad? Because posting the course syllabus online for everyone to see is one thing, but when you put the instructor's contact information, you make room for the instructor to be when an instructor is posting the syllabus and their contact information is there, um, basically opens up the floodgate. So this is bad, and here's why. Providing the instructor's contact information is going to open up floodgates. Um, so, something that we see online now with like the most prominent example that I can think of is Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok, you know, came to rise when Chaya Raichik, um, was going through different social media platforms, finding any teacher, that was queer of any sort, had rainbows in the classroom, posters saying like all are welcome, that type of stuff. Finding them and basically doxing them, not even basically doxing them, putting out their name, where they work, and all that, and people would find where they live. So that's what this opens up to, um, as well as death threats, threats of violence in general. You're gonna have people who are like, okay, I want to go or this institution has a course on gender studies, African American studies, Asian American studies, or whatever they decide is woke. You're gonna have folks that are gonna go. They're gonna find that class. Gonna find the instructor. They're gonna look at the course schedule. They're gonna post this course schedule, probably all over Twitter, and they're saying like, "This is what this institution is doing. This is what this institution is teaching our children." Um, and again, with those floodgates open, instructors are going to get a lot of threats, and what you're gonna see is you'll probably see a mass exodus of instructors from higher education institutions in Ohio, kind of stepping down because it's going to be a free for all, and they have no protection. I mean, these are people who have families, they have friends, they have people who care about them, and they if you like your average person is gonna see a threat to their life and think about what happens if something happens to me, what happens to my family. Also, the this section does put in the fact that oh, so going further down, this section does note that nothing in this section shall be construed to require a publicly available syllabus to include the location or time of day at which a course is being held. That's all said and good, but often with syllabi, um, a professor would put their office hours, as well as where their office is, so that students, always have that available to them. Um, so if you know where someone's office is, that's also a big risk. Obviously, professors would most likely not put this on the syllabus and just kind of like tell students, but that's also just something to think about. And also remember that these instructors are, just everyday people, and we should want and no matter where you are on this political spectrum, we all nobody wants violence against random individuals. Nobody wants that. All right, so moving on, this section is about basically the stating what the institution is meant to do for the students. Um, So let's go ahead and get started. Section 3345.0216. Each state institution of higher education, as defined in Section 3345.011 of the Revised Code, shall incorporate all of the following statements into a statement of commitment. The institution declares that it will educate students by means of free, open, and rigorous intellectual inquiry to seek the truth. I mean, I don't I don't know which institution wasn't doing this. Um, I mean, if you are an accredited institution of higher education, I mean, that's just what's going to happen. And no one's saying that we can't do this. I mean, maybe, Trump University, that's a possibility, some one of those types of universities. Um, Continuing on, the institution declares that its duty is to equip students with the opportunity to develop the intellectual skills they need to reach on their own informed inclusion. Again, this is already happening. However, the thing is that when students are, going for a higher education, they're going for the bachelor's, master's, graduate, or PhD. No matter what it is, when they more often than not, when people go to college, they tend to come out more on the liberal side, um, because they have a broader scope of how things work, um, in their community and across the world. And that's actually the heart of the problem. But we're gonna continue reading. The institution declares its commitment to not requiring, favoring, disfavoring, or prohibiting speech or lawful assembly. Um, Now, I want to point out that one of the big issues is that we all understand freedom of speech. With that being said, there's this bastardization of what free speech means to, you know, Republican politicians and conservative commentators. For these groups, free speech means I want to say slurs. That's what that means. Free speech does not mean that you get to, or it no longer means that you get to speak out against a government, the government. You no longer get to speak out against American imperialism, the bad things that America is doing. You don't get to speak out on those. You don't get to even speak out against the state of Israel. You don't get to do that. However, what we get to do now is say slurs on Twitter. That's the free speech that they're talking about. So basically, um, it's like like this current administration is completely going against the freedom of speech, and that it should be a concern for everybody, whether you are, a Trumper. If you like Trump, that's all fine and well, but you should understand that once they start going after um, once they start going after, people who are politically against them, American citizens speaking their minds, they go after them. There's nothing stopping them from coming after you too. All it would take is one wrong word, and your ass will be sitting in jail too. I mean, we're starting to see students disappear. I mean, the most notable is Mahmoud Khalil, um, and he was one step removed from being an American citizen. He was a green card holder. He was so close to being an American citizen. If they're willing to go after an American citizen, take away their green card, and not only that, but to going after migrants, they have been detaining American citizens. Basically, they're just saying like, "Oh, you look Hispanic, you look Mexican. Now we're going to detain you, and you gotta keep your ID on you, because if they even let you show them, you have to understand that there's no stopping them from going further." I got a bit of on a tangent. Let's continue. The institution declares it is committed to create a community dedicated to an ethic of civil and free inquiry, which represents the autonomy of each member, supports individual capacities for growth, and tolerates the difference in opinion that naturally occur in a public higher education community. I mean, that's what's happening. I don't know why they need this in writing. The institution declares that it is, I do know why they need it in writing. I know why. The institution declares that its duty is to treat all faculty, staff, and students as individuals, to hold them to equal standards, and to provide them equality of opportunity with regard to those individuals' race, ethnicity, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. Hold on now. Starting to sound a little woke, a little DEI ish. You know what I mean? No, listen. You know what? I want to go on a tangent here, but let's continue. Um, because of this next point, each state institution of higher education shall prominently post a statement of commitment developed under this section on its publicly accessible website and alongside the state institution's mission statement in any place in which the mission statement appears, including when it is published or posted. Each institution shall include the statement of commitment to any socializations and offers of admission to students and any offers of employment to faculty. That kind of just basically that section is going to go into this next section, and it connects, and then I'll talk about why this is bad. Controversial belief or policy means any belief or policy that is the subject of political controversy, including issues such as climate policies, electoral politics, foreign policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, immigration policy, marriage, or abortion. Intellectual diversity means multiple, divergent, and varied perspectives on an extensive range of public policy issues. State institution of higher education has the same meaning as in section 3345.011 of the revised code. Not later than 90 days after the effective date of this section, the Board of Trustees of each state institution of higher education shall adopt the institution and the institution shall enforce a policy that requires the institution to do all the following. This is the meat right here. So prohibit all the following: any orientation or training course regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, unless the institution submits a written request for an exception to the Chancellor of Higher Education, because the institution determines the orientation of training course is exempt from that prohibition, because all aspects of the orientation or course are required to do any of the following: comply with state and federal laws, comply with the state or federal professional licensure requirements, obtain or retain accreditation. The exception request shall include an explanation of all the circumstances, the continuation of existing. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is where they go back into things that are prohibited. So the continuation of existing diversity, equity, inclusion offices or departments, establishing new diversity, equity, inclusion offices or departments, using diversity, equity, inclusion in job descriptions, contracting with consultants or third parties whose role it is or would be to promote admissions, hiring, and promotions on the basis of race, ethnicity, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. I want to be clear: DEI is not hiring someone based off their skin color or their sex or sexual identity. That is not what DEI is. It's DEIA. And the quick, I'm not gonna break it down again, not a lecture, and just giving you some information. DEI is just a way to cast a wide net, to give the opportunity to more individuals who are qualified for a specific job or qualified to enter the institution of higher education. That's all it's doing. It's saying, hey, how do we have an outreach to people in the rural parts of, let's say, Ohio, just rural parts of Ohio. How do we get people out in Urbana, Mechanicsburg to get the information or the same opportunity as someone living in Columbus to come to Ohio State? How do we do that for them? Or how do we or what I'm trying to think of, University of Miami, or whatever institution in Ohio that you want to go to, or even the jobs programs. Like, there are people who are stuck in the corn vortex, and they don't, there's like they don't see a way out. How do we get our job opportunities to reach those individuals? That's what this is. It could be someone in the inner city as well. Could be someone from poor socioeconomic background, could be someone, from a black community that's disenfranchised. It doesn't matter. It's just casting a wide net, giving everyone the opportunity to do something that they are qualified for. That's it. Continuing on, the establishment of any new institutional scholarships that use diversity, equity, and inclusion in any manner for any institution scholarship for any institutional scholarships existing on the effective date of this section, a state institution shall, to the extent possible, eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements. If the state institution is unable to do so because of donor requirements, the institution may continue to offer these institutional scholarships. However, the state institution shall not accept any additional funds for the operation of institutional scholarships that have diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements. Here's why this is bad. Historically speaking, these scholarships have been a thing specifically to help disenfranchised groups. So, whether that's women or African Americans, Hispanic populations, indigenous populations. Historically, it's been a thing because of the disenfranchisement, and um, it saying that, like, oh, um, like the NAACP can no longer give funding for scholarships that you know probably maybe don't go to Ohio State anymore, or just whatever it is. This is bad because these scholarships have helped so many people pay for their education. Um, and as it's already expensive enough, you know, it's it's going to hurt a lot of potential students. It's going to stop students from entering higher education because they feel like there's no way that they can fund it. Um, Also, though, it's again, there are scholarships out there that help um, people from poorer communities. I mean, poor communities are not just uh, um, communities of color. You gotta just let that sink in. You know. Um, A state institution shall not replace any orientation, training, office, or position designated for the purpose of diversity, equity, and inclusion that is prohibited under this division. Um, in the event that the requirements to obtain a research grant conflict with the prohibitions listed under divisions B1A of the section, a state institution shall endeavor to the extent possible to comply with divisions B1A of the section while retaining eligibility for the research grant, including by consulting with legal counsel. Um, Divisions B1A and C of the section do not apply to agreements or contracts regarding any research grants entered into the prior effective of this date. Divisions B1A and C of the section apply to any renewal of such agreements or contracts occurring on or after the effective date, affirming and declare that the primary function is to practice or support the practice, discovery, improvement, transmissions, and dissemination of knowledge and citizenship education by a means of research, teaching, discussion, and debate. Affirm and declare that to fulfill the function described in divisions B2 of this section, state institutions shall ensure the fullest degree of intellectual diversity. Before I go on, I do want to just quickly touch on that research grant aspect. They're basically saying that, you know, if you do not comply, we are coming after you. We will come after you by taking um, funds, whether it be research funds or just, uh, uh, whatever funds that an institution is getting from the government, it's all going to go away. If you do not comply, if you do not show us that you are complying with, putting up syllabi on your website, you gonna lose funding. If you are not abiding by, um, getting rid of, your your DEI initiatives, making sure that you are not actually casting a wide net for people of all, races, religion, sex, sexual orientation, whatever, the things that they put on here. If you're doing that, no, you're getting your grants cut. If we don't like your research, if your research is too woke for us, we're gonna cut it. That's bad. A lot of the research, um, there's a lot of important research being done at institutions. Both environmental, um, uh, you know, things in social sciences. Um, there's a lot of like chemical compounds come out of this. Things that are really important to the functioning of society come out of the research done at these institutions, and that will harm us, especially a lot of environmental ones. I know there's a town in Ohio that is concerned with um, nuclear waste that's being buried getting into their waterways. We got to fund the research to go and say like, oh, over the course of this many years, this stuff might leak into their water source. That is important. This stuff hurts us all, and that's what I want to make clear. Continuing on, we're going to this is the stuff that really kind of irks me, and I just want to inform you all. So continuing on, affirm and declare that to fulfill the function described in Division B2 of this section, the state institution shall ensure the fullest degree of intellectual diversity. Affirm and declare that faculty and staff shall allow and encourage students to reach their own conclusions about all controversial beliefs or policies and shall not seek to indoctrinate any social, political, or religious point of view. Um, as I mentioned before, students do reach their own conclusions. A lot of times, it's not what Republican politicians and conservative commentators want those conclusions to be. Um, and also, indoctrination is not happening on campus on college campuses. We're going to continue reading. Demonstrate intellectual diversity for course approval of courses to satisfy general education requirements, students' course evaluations, common reading programs, annual reviews, strategic goals for each department and student learning outcomes. Divisions B2 to 5 of this section do not apply to the exercise of professional judgment about how to accomplish intellectual diversity within an academic discipline unless the exercise is misused to constrict intellectual diversity. They're being ambiguous and that's purposeful. Um, there's something very very damning in here that so I'm going to continue reading just to get a broad scope. Declare it will not endorse or oppose as an institution any controversial belief or policy except on matters that directly impact the institution's funding or mission of discovery, improvement, and disseminating of knowledge. I mean, one could argue that this entire bill does that, but we're gonna continue reading. The institution may also endorse the Congress of the United States when it establishes um, state of armed hostility against a foreign power. Um, I mean, historically speaking, colleges have come out against different policies, and um, right now, I mean, there's this attack on science, and we have to remember, like, even if you think, even if you have no care for science, you got to remember, like, the technology that you use in your house is science. Your phone is science. This microphone I'm using, science. Webcam, science. Your car, science. You got to take that into account. The things that we have available to us, that's all science. um but telling institution of higher education that they are not allowed to endorse or oppose, whatever is deemed a controversial belief or policy. So, like, you know, basically saying that, oh, you're a university, you are not allowed to come out and say that genocide is wrong. You are not allowed to say that, America, the Trump administration should not put tariffs on, a whole host of countries. However, um, you can endorse Congress saying that we're gonna go to war with this country. You can do that, but everything and no dissent. You cannot do dissent. Um, and that goes hand in hand with students who, I mean, historically students are, the voices of the university. Look back to the Vietnam War. At the heart of those protests were college students, and guess what? They State violence was used against them. State violence used against people protesting the state of Israel on college campuses. And they're and now we have an administration that's just flexing their untapped power to silence any type of dissent. This is concerning because again, it doesn't stop here. It does not stop here. It'll keep going. We've seen this in history before. We saw this in Germany. Affirming and declare that the state institution will not encourage, discourage, require, or forbid students, faculty, or administrators to endorse, assent to, or publicly express a given ideology or political stance or view of social policy, nor will the institution require students to do any of those things to obtain an undergraduate or postgraduate degree. There is no institution that is requiring students to protest or endorse anything. Again, students come to their own conclusion. If they students decided that they do not fuck with genocide, okay? But we're seeing students' voices being silenced because they are, showing dissent for American foreign policy, and going against the state of Israel. They're hurting Israel's feelings. So now we got to shut them up. Divisions B, 6, and 7 of this section do not apply to the exercise of professional judgment about whether to endorse the consensus of foundational beliefs of an academic discipline, unless that exercise is misused to take an action prohibited in Divisions B, 6 of this section. Prohibit political and ideological litmus tests in all hiring, promotion, and admissions decisions, including diversity statements and any other requirement that applicants describe their commitment to any ideology, principle, concept, or formulation that requires commitment to any controversial belief or policy. Affirm and declare that no hiring, promotion, or admission process or decision shall encourage, discourage, require, or forbid students, faculty, or admission to endorse, assent to, publicly express a given ideology or political stance. Affirm the declaration that the state institution will not use a diversity statement or any other assessment of the applicant's political or ideological views in any hiring, promotion, or admission process or decision. Affirm and declare that no process or decision regulating conditions of work or study, such as committees, assignments, course schedule, or workload adjustment policies, shall encourage, discourage, require, or forbid students, faculty, or administration to endorse, assent to, or publicly express a given ideology or political stance. Affirm and declare that the state institution will seek out invited speakers who have diverse ideological or political views. I'm going to stop here because basically this entire section has been is a reference to the feelings of conservatives being hurt because their opinions are not popular. They have unpopular opinions. And this is not like, social media, cool social media type unpopular opinions that are fun. These are opinions that are objectively harmful to, groups and individuals. And what we have seen in the past is that people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, are going to a college campus and students, are in a tizzy and they don't like it because, I mean, they these two guys are bad people. You have like you may be a fan of them. I mean, you're definitely less of a fan of Ben Shapiro than Charlie Kirk at this point. Let's be honest. Ben Shapiro is boring as hell. Um, But basically, again, the opinions of conservative commentators, and I mean, if you ever met a young Republican, they are the nerdiest, snivelingest, like little freaks, and like people don't like them. They're only in their small groups because only that's how they roll. Like if you were to meet one, whether you're a Republican voter or not, you would not like them. You just wouldn't. They're they're also just getting worse at this point. But their opinions are unpopular, and so that's what this last section was about. And so the concern here is that because these opinions are unpopular and students speak out, students are are the ones at the forefront of the protest, right? Well, I mean, students start protesting these things, these speakers, they start protesting, unpopular opinions, from a right leaning perspective, maybe an alt right perspective. And, conservatives getting a tizzy about it, and they're like, well, must be those woke professors. Let's go and see, what they're teaching in their course syllabus. Whoop, I don't like that, the way that sounds. So we're going to now go after this instructor. It just basically what that's going to do is it's going to make a worse overall experience for all students involved. Post prominently on this website a complete list of all speaker fees, honoraria, and other emoluments in excess of $500 for events that are sponsored by the state institution. That information shall be all the following accessible from the main page of institution's website by use of not more than 3 links, searchable by keywords and phrases, accessible to the public without requiring user registration of any kind. Each state institution of higher education shall respond to complaints from any student, student group, or faculty member about an alleged violation of all prohibitions and requirements included in the policy adopted under this section using process established under Division C of Section 3345.0215 of the Revised Code. This right here, this is one of the most concerning things to me because say you have a class, I'm trying to think of, a good woke class right now. Just use your imagination on this. So you got this class, they're talking about something, um, and they're not trying to instructor not make trying to make it political, or anything. And you got that one conservative student in class. They speak up, and give their unpopular opinion, and instructor responds, in a way that kind of like, that opinion is bad, right? Because there are bad opinions. Opinions don't you're not required to have, like, for people, it's not a requirement for people to think that your opinion is good. People have bad opinions. They do. I have bad opinions. Um, so that student is now in his feelings because the teacher didn't like his opinion. What does he do now? He goes and he complains about this professor, and under this law, that professor is subjected to some form of punishment. Um, so uh, and depending on how far they have to take this violation, that instructor might be out. What does that do for the class? That hurts the class, right? That hurts the bottom line of the students. All right, so I am back. I am wearing a different sweater, as you can see, different earrings. Had to take a break between last section and now. So we're going to continue on. Um, Post prominently on its website a complete list of all speaker fees, honoraria, and other emoluments in excess of $500 for events that are sponsored by the state institution. That information shall be all of the following: accessible from the main page of the institution's website by use of not more than 3 links. Going back to the 3 links thing, you don't need a registration. Each state institution of higher education shall respond to complaints from any student, student group, or faculty member about an alleged violation of the prohibitions and requirements included in the policy adopted under this section using the process established under Division C of Section 3345.0215 of the revised code. Again, I do believe I explained this um, in terms of a student being offended that their opinion in their class was an unpopular opinion, and there was pushback to that opinion, and now they are able to go and say, look, this professor you know disagreed with my political view. It hurt my feelings. Now I want them to be in trouble. I want them to have face some kind of punishment for it. That's what this is, and that is a really scary precedent to set. Um, because again, it's like um, this is uh, on one hand, this bill is supposed to be saying like, okay, we're going to make it clear that we want you know all voices in political opinion to have a fair chance to share their opinions, but at the same time, we're not allowing controversial topics to be discussed. Um, and also, if you don't like a bad opinion and you push back against it, well, now you're in trouble. Um, so that messes with tenure. You can have your it can be grievance over tenure. That's fine. Um, but that also goes to research grants. Hurts other students because losing an instructor halfway into the semester, that's going to be real hard on them as well. Nothing in this section prohibits faculty or students from classroom instruction, discussion, or debate, so long as faculty members allow students to express intellectual diversity. Um, Again, goes to pushback. What's it going to be like when there's pushback to an unpopular opinion or a wrong opinion? Because opinions can be wrong. Nothing in this section prohibits a state institution of higher education from complying with any state or federal law to provide disability services or to permit student organizations, including fraternities and sororities. Of course, you got to protect the fraternities and sororities always. You know, famously, they have not changed since the early days of their existence. The General Assembly may withhold or reduce any state operating subsidy payments, state capital improvement funds, or other state appropriations to a state institution of higher education if the General Assembly determines the institution has failed to comply with the requirements established under this section. Um, so again, I mean, it can be, just little things. I think the big takeaway from this bill is that we are in a point right now in this country where we are um, where institutions are being attacked by both federal government and state government, local government, and they're saying, hey, tread carefully because we are coming after you and we want any reason to do so. And we have seen this before. We've seen it in Nazi Germany. This is how it starts, and I think that's really really important because like Nazi Germany didn't just happen overnight. There was a build up to it. Of course, I don't have time to go through the history of Nazi Germany, but we should keep in mind that Germany had Nazi Germany um, created a lot of enemies, enemies for itself in order to have the backing of the people to go after institutions and go after people, go after labor unions. that's how it starts, and it just goes downhill from there. And we are at a very critical point in this country. Each state institution of higher education shall respond to complaints regarding any administrator, faculty member, staff, or student who interferes with the intellectual diversity rights. I'm telling you, they are not only are they going after the institutions of higher education, but they're going after any instructor that they can, any researcher that they can, um, to because there is this conservative this one-sided conservative war against education in this country. And I'm not talking about um, Republican voters. I'm talking about the party and the conservative commentators and think tanks. They hate education. They hate educators, because when you have educators, you make people think, and when they think, they can call you out on your bullshit. This is bullshit. This is We are doing fascist shit. Okay? And it's right here in Ohio. It's right here. It doesn't stop here. It does not stop at higher education. It's going to go further. They get away with this. They take it a step further. Now they're going for public school, K through 12. All right, they're going to go after teachers in the high schools, in the middle schools, in the elementary schools. They're going to use that to further take away funding from an already crippled, education funding, and then they're going to turn around, give it right back to give more money to the private schools, give more money to the charter schools. And I have my whole grievance with charter schools. That's for another video. You can probably guess why I hate private schools. Um, but we as a country, as a society, rely on public education to educate our population as much as possible. It doesn't matter how crippled it is. It is a fundamental it's a fundamental thing that we have. It was a a necessity that um, you know people realized in the past. Like, hey, we got to educate our population. It's a necessity for the advancement of this country, and we got to do it. So this bill is a starting point. Um, if nothing else, if nothing else, please remember that this is a starting point, and it's not going to end here until we have people who fight back against this, and you see the protests. And if if the lawmakers, the Democrats don't want to fight back, I mean the people are going to fight back. You just remember that. And protest is a great way. Call your representatives, call your senators, and let them know. It's like, hey, if you are not fighting back, we don't have your back because you don't have ours. All right. Each state institution shall inform all of its students and employees of the protections afforded to them under Section 3345 .0217 of the revised codes, and any policies it has adopted to put them into practice, including by providing the information to new employees and to each student during any new student orientation the institution offers. Each state institution shall comply with any reporting guidelines established by the Chancellor under Section 3345.0219 of the revised code regarding any violations of the intellectual diversity rights prescribed under Section 3345.0217 of the revised code by any individual under the institution's jurisdiction, and any consequent disciplinary sanctions issued for that violation. Again, that's just going back to we're we're going to punish instructors that have the smallest infraction. Okay, so I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit, because the next part of this bill, I really want to touch on, and then I'll probably finish out. The bill is really long. But after like the section about um, so-called protections for students and employees in the guise of um, diversity of opinion, or however they put it. We go into uh, the guidelines for tenure that this bill lays out, and I can do a video on that if this video is received fairly well. Um, it's a little more, it's a little out of my sphere. Um, I've read it and it's not good. Um, and I might be talking to my girlfriend about it, my dad, my girlfriend's dad about it as well, just so that I have a better perspective of what it is to have tenure and work in an institution of higher learning. Um, so, each state institution of higher education shall develop a course with not fewer than 3 credit hours in the subject area of American civic literacy. They are now requiring, they're now requiring state institutions of higher learning within Ohio to create a course that all students will have to take based off American civic literacy. Mind you, mind you, currently we have um, conservative commentators and a Trump administration that is currently going after judges for upholding law and going against the Trump administration, um, doing um, illegal things, um, and they're attacking these judges by saying, they're Marxist judges, they're leftist liberal judges, which some of them might be politically aligned with the liberal mentality. I don't know. Certainly not leftist, but I mean, some of them were even appointed by like George Bush, right? So the whole notion that they're Marxist, which by the way is a Nazi thing to do, calling people Marxists. All right, um, they are they just like these people are displaying their lack of knowledge of civic literacy. They think that judges now are like abusing power. They think that the president has absolute authority, and that the they think that the executive branch has all the authority, and that the legislative branch and the judicial branch, are not there to make sure that there's a check on the power of the executive branch. And then, it goes all the way around. There's not supposed to be one branch that has absolute power. That's why we have the three branches to check each other. I digress. The course shall include a study of the American economic system and capitalism. Yes, 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 you heard it here. Students now have to understand the American economic system of capitalism, one that has absolutely ruined the American dream. You know, you want to talk about trickle down economics. Reagan, um, Reagan, single handedly. I mean, it was already going downhill, but single handedly just destroyed everything. We're talking tax cuts. We're talking allowing American manufacturers to ship jobs overseas. We're talking just putting more money into the hands of millionaires and billionaires, which, by the way, billionaires just should not exist. They're holding so much money. Trickle down economics was a complete failure. Tax cuts ruined, just ruined uh, the government agencies that are there to help the American people. Um, And capitalism famously breeds innovation. That's why we get the same goddamn iPhone every year. That's just barely better, has a barely faster processing speed. It's the same reason why we get the same game slop every year, every Call of Duty every year. Like it's the same game. This is why we get that, right? Complete innovation. Um, I digress. The course shall comply with the criteria, policies, and procedures established under Section 33.16 of the Revised Code. The course may be offered under the College Credit Plus program established under Chapter 3365 of the Revised Code. The course shall, at a minimum, require each student to read all the following, and this is the kicker. I'm going to finish this and then just tell you why this is bad. The entire Constitution of the United States. Doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, you can wipe your ass with the Constitution. Doesn't matter. No one's going off the Constitution. The entire Declaration of Independence. A minimum of 5 essays in their entirety from the Federalist Papers. The essay shall be selected by the department chair. The entire Emancipation Proclamation. The entire Gettysburg Address. The entire letter from Birmingham jail written by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The writings of Adam Smith, including a study of the principle written in The Wealth of Nations. I got no problem with the Emancipation Proclamation, the Gettysburg Address, and the letter from Birmingham jail. However, they should not be a part of this course. They can be part of some other course. I think it's good reading, right? Like, I haven't read the Gettysburg Address. It's been a long time since I've learned about the Emancipation Proclamation. With that being said, I understand what it does. And the letter from Birmingham jail, I haven't read it. I've had it read to me via like a YouTube video or whatever. The state of Ohio is going to be requiring state institutions to provide basically a propaganda course, which is what the not that's what the federal government, currently the Trump administration, and conservatives alike are claiming is happening on college campuses. They're saying that college campuses are indoctrinating students into leftist ideology. Now, here they are saying, okay, we are going to require Federalist Papers being read. We're going to require a course on civic literacy that touches on the American economic plan and capitalism. We're doing this. We're going to force them to do this. This is propaganda, but this is propaganda that we like, okay? And now every student has to do this. Otherwise, those students who do not do this will not graduate. They cannot have their bachelor's degree unless they take this class that we are forcing institutions to create. That's big government. Remember, I thought we were against big government, but every corner we turn, Republicans and conservatives are pushing for big government, but in the way that they want big government to be formed. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many places to point where they just completely go against the idea of big government. They go against free speech all the time, but we're not going to go through that today. It's something that I could do down the line. But yes, you have to understand that, again, this is just the beginning. I would expect that they will then start prohibiting certain courses from being taught on college campuses. You got to understand, Ohio currently has a Republican majority, I believe, in both the Senate and the House, and we also have a Republican governor who signed this atrocious bill into law. So this will take effect. So yeah, there's it's not going to stop here. It's going to keep going. They're going to another reason, especially I think a big reason why this is bad is because this is going to then create a chance for them to absolutely undermine um, institutions of higher learning say, hey, see, these institutions are bad. It's like, why? Like, look at people. Look, people are no longer applying to, Ohio State. That's because Ohio State, like we told you, was woke and it was indoctrinating, and now nobody wants to go there. When the real reason is, you know, the the, the university has lost funding that helps students pay for college, funding that keeps up dormitories, funding that allows for a dining hall. Um, they can't pay for maintenance. It won't be a good place to go. But they're gonna say, look, we told you guys these institutions were terrible, and now then you have private colleges just raking in the dough, getting subsidies. It hurts us all. It hurts us all. And please just remember that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. Thank you so much for watching, listening. I hope I was able to give some helpful information on what is in this bill. Hopefully, you understand why I would be against this bill and why we should all be against this bill. Um, Hopefully, you are informed on why the language in this bill is bad and what it will lead to inevitably. And with that being said, just, just try to stay informed. There's a lot of information going out right now. Um, Trump administration is plaguing the news with all kinds of different stories, and it's easy to miss these things, especially local news. So, all right, again, thank you so much, and until next time, take care.